Welcome back. The Haryana government has stopped production at the Maiden Pharma plant, which is linked to the death of 69 children in Gambia due to the contaminated cough syrups. We have with us Udaya Bhaskar, who is the Director General Pharma Excel, and Kewal Handa, former MD of Pfizer India, joining in to share their thoughts. Mr. Bhaskar, I'll start with you. Pharma Excel cancelled the membership of Maiden Pharma just last week. Can you just tell us what your experience has been with Maiden Pharma, and why wasn't a step like this taken earlier, considering that in 2013, Maiden Pharma was one of the 46 companies that in fact was banned from sales in Vietnam. Plus, there have been incidents where regulators in India themselves have pulled up the company since 2015.
Actually, this has come to our notice for the first time, and particularly we have taken the caution of WHO and the DG WHO statement about the death of 66 children in Gambia. That particular product contains, the diethyl glycol and ethylene glycol at higher limits. That has made us, we have taken that into confidence, and we have issued a notice to the Maiden Pharma to explain their stand. And they have not responded to our letter, and we suspended their RCMC registration cum membership certificate, which they are entitled to have some sort of an incentives from the Minister of Commerce and Government of India. That is the only thing we can do, and it's in the ambit of Pharma Excel.
Okay, all right. So that means the incentives which were provided by Pharma Excel have stopped, but the export license is not in your hands.
Yes, that is with the DGFT.
Okay, all right.
Import-export always lies with the DGFT.
Okay. Mr. Handa, you've probably been following this case. I wanted to get your angle, in terms of what this does to the possible reputation of Indian pharma as well. Because that is something that Pharma Excel brought up when they wrote about this particular case, that it's a possibility that the reputation of Indian pharma could also get impacted because of cases like these. Do you think that MNCs would now probably think twice? Would there be any kind of tangible impact, or do they understand that this is a separate part of the pharmaceutical industry that we're discussing in India and is not linked to the over $20 billion of exports of generic drugs from the country?
So very good afternoon to all of you. I think everything is linked. It's linked to the reputation of the Indian manufacturers. It's linked to the quality of the products which are being sold globally. It links to our ethical and moral issues. I think this case where a generic company sells its products in a market which is unregulated market. Gambia is an unregulated market. And therefore, it had a free hand in terms of quality checks, I would say. So there was no self-quality check done by this company. Unfortunately, our regulations are not in tune with global regulations like PICS or the European regulations or the US FDA. So I think there's a very strong need today. And if you see globally, most of the global companies today are only buying if you're a compliant, if you're a PICS compliant or a European compliant, or you meet the US FDA requirements, a Japanese requirement, Austrian requirement. There are a few countries yet which are unregulated where these things probably would happen. But in the other countries where the Indian companies are selling these products, I don't think such a drastic thing would have happened. And I don't want to paint every Indian company selling in the export market is indulging in a thing which the Maiden Pharma has done. I think they are very responsible. They do understand the importance of global trade. They do understand the compliances. They do understand the safety and efficacy of the product, and they are pretty well in the global market. But one such incident pulls us back. And then this is where the red alarm should start working right now.
Mr. Handa, if I can just ask a follow-up question. We were joined by Mr. Reddy. I'm not sure if you heard what he had to say. One of the concerns that he has expressed are quality control issues which he believes are quite prevalent. And he went on to, in fact, previously write in the book as well, that in many cases we've seen that there's a different standard of quality control adopted when supplying to a Western country, a European country, and a different when supplying to a developing emerging country. Is there a need felt for more consistent standards, perhaps an oversight mechanism that is more centralized?
So I think to some extent it's right. If you are compliant to PICS or you're compliant to European or US, you are compliant to those quality standards. But if you're supplying to unregulated market, well, you're compliant to the Indian standards. Now, or the WHO requirements. Now, as far as the Indian standards are concerned, you do comply in almost 90% of the essays and impurities and so on and so forth. But there is no proper, audit or proper checks on what it is going on. And therefore, we need to tighten our internal regulation. There are two ways of doing it. A, strengthen the CDSO completely, have more inspectors, more audits to be done, more quality checks to be done, more labs to be open to do the essays and so on and so forth. Or ask all the companies to comply with either PICS or with European, which most of the export companies are doing it. But that leaves us the domestic market very vulnerable. We have seen this in export market today. Tomorrow it will happen in domestic market. How do you tighten a domestic market? Now the challenge here is very clearly, I will tell you, is we're too obsessed with the pricing of the products. We do not give any scope or any leverage for investment in quality, in safety, in checks and controls, in good ingredient products. I think its time has come that we need to have a less obsession on pricing, but more obsession on efficacy and safety. I think that's very, very critical for the domestic employee. We should not, cheat the domestic patients giving a poor products and give a good product to the export market because we are compliant PICS or the European compliant.
Sure. We're running out of time, Mr. Bhaskar. Final question to you, and this, of course, is again with respect to the regulatory oversight here. The concern that has been expressed is that we have the CDSO at the center, we have state regulatory bodies as well, adds to confusion, adds to overlaps. Is there a need for a more centralized structure to regulate such issues of quality control, Mr. Bhaskar?
Mr. Ashmit, just I would like to say that, particularly this episode has made a dent on Indian pharmaceutical exports, but it's an aberration. 55% of our exports are going to highly regulated markets. But here, we need to send a message, particularly it is under investigation. The CDSCO need to send a message to the world that, we are acting on this and this kind of an activity will not be tolerated at any cost. This kind of a message is to be very loud and clear to the world. At the same time, we are discussing this issue since last 7 days or 5-6 days. That certainly we should all feel bad about this episode. But let us wait for the investigation report to come. As of now, we have taken the stand of DG WHO into confidence and cognizance. Let us hope.
Wait for the investigation report. That, of course, will give us more clarity on the way forward, especially once it's put in the public domain. That has been a consistent cry by various activists. But that, unfortunately, is all the time that we have for.
They are the right people to come out with
right, Mr. Bhaskar.
Report. Yeah. Thank you.
Right, Mr. Bhaskar. Thank you so much for joining us with your time. Mr. Handa as well for giving your perspective on this perhaps being a moment of awakening, a moment of reckoning for the industry. But that's all the time that we have for. It's a wrap on this special broadcast. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned to CNBC TV18. The news and updates continue right here, up on the other side.